I know what you might be thinking. What the hell am I doing on the floor? And why am I surrounded with a ton of cables?
And that's because, well, it's going to be going in my car. When I bought this car, it came with a few hidden gems, and one of them being a 1.8 litre and not a 2 litre, and that's not all. Back in 2018, when I bought my very first car, I bought it sight unseen, and I didn't know that I would have made a huge mistake. The car I thought I bought was the one pictured below, which is an Audi S3 Sportsback, and the one that I was looking at was a 2014. I was so new to the Audi group that I didn't know what was an A3 or S3 or RS3. I assumed that the S3 belonged to the S-Line group, however, I was wrong. And that's what brings me to the next part. The car I ended up buying was an Audi A3 S-Line Sportsback. For so long, I thought this car was an S3 because of how identical these cars are. They have the same headlights, they have the same bumpers, the same wheels, and pretty much the same interior. The biggest giveaway was the A3 badge at the back and the quad tips. Although it's a bad thing, the good thing about this is that the A3, S3 and the RS3 actually share the same chassis. It's really smart because Audi saves a lot of cost and they can just allocate a chassis to the A group, S group and the RS group. There's only two options here. I can either sell it and buy an S3, or two, I can build one. After going back and forth, I found the deal of a lifetime. I found this blacked out Audi S3 Sportsback, fully specced out, and here's the catch, it was severely damaged. I'm not sure what the heck this bloke did to this car, but he threw his son right under the bus, and I probably would too. Youngsters now are driving these overpowered cars, and they don't know how to handle them. In this case, luckily this person walked away unharmed. So we're going to use this car to rebuild mine, and we're going to give it a second chance at life. Here's what we need. To make this all work, we're going to need the engine and gearbox, rear differential and the prop shaft in order to make this thing all-wheel drive because my car is front-wheel drive. Which also means we need the fuel tank because my fuel tank won't work with the rear diff, and including the wiring harness in order for us to sync all this together. As I made my way from the back to the front, removing this wiring harness, I did end up marking everything, that way I do know where everything goes, each and every connector. It comes to show how serious this accident was to be able to pop every single airbag in the car. Steering wheel, dash, curtains. I'm surprised the ones in the seat didn't go off. When removing the wiring harness, I had to work my way from the passenger side, back to the driver's side, and back to the passenger side, and then back to the driver's side. Only because these wires do meet down the middle, so where the center console is. I couldn't believe that it took me about 2 weeks going back and forth to try and get everything removed from this car. It was a lot difficult to get footage removing the engine, gearbox, rear differential, prop shaft and the fuel tank, only because I was doing this in someone else's front yard. I was initially going to take the car home and just do it at home in my own time, but I just didn't have time for that, and I didn't even have the space. And this thing was so stuck into the ground that there was no way of moving it. As I was doing the driver's side, I pretty much removed the driver's seat, I removed the A pillars, B pillars, any trims in the way of me getting the harness out, and then pretty much as I got the harness out, I'll put everything back where it goes, that way I don't have a car full of parts. I've never pulled the dash out of one of these cars, and I was very curious to see, was it going to be easy or was it going to be hard to pull it out? There's only one way of getting this dash out, and you got to strip the whole interior. In this case, we didn't have instructions, so we're going back and forth trying to figure out why some plastic parts weren't coming off. And considering it was 35 degrees, luckily I had a lot of patience. I tried to get the immobilizer out, so I had to pull apart the steering column. In this case, there were 2 hidden screws, so I had to remove the steering wheel. There's only 2 tabs at the back, so you're going to need a pick tool, and you just got to move the tabs to the side. And once you've disconnected the airbag and removed the torque screw in the middle, the steering wheel should pretty much just come right off. And now we can get the 2 torque screws off. In order to take out this pop-up display, you have to remove the air ducts because there are hidden torque screws in there, and then you got to pretty much just remove the plastic from the top. You have to be careful around this area because, as you can tell, the windshield is busted, so there was a lot of glass everywhere, little fragments that you can't even see, and it doesn't help that the whole car was very dusty. The cluster was probably one of the easiest parts to remove. It was literally only like 2 Torx screws and just one connector they had to disconnect, and that's just about it. Luckily, I didn't have to remove the whole roof line of the car because I did have to disconnect the overhead lights and the sunroof, and then I got started on the pillars, disconnecting the connectors from the curtain airbags that deployed, and trust me, I had no clue on how to remove any of these parts. I was literally just winging it. I did have to watch a few videos, I admit, and a few pictures on how to remove some parts. Other than that, I was just so lucky that I was blessed with such gentle hands, and although it looks like I'm really brutal with that picking tool, trust you me, nothing was harmed, because at the end of the day, this stuff is going back in my car. Out of all the parts I removed from the dash, this climate console was probably one of the hardest ones to remove. That's a lot of cables. And you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with the current harness in your car? Well, nothing. See, the car didn't actually come with these headlights. It came with these xenon headlights, which are also on the base model S3. These are actually the facelift matrix headlights. And these come from factory as an option when building your car. And these will set you back around $7,000 a piece. You can either go with the matrix option or the xenon option for the fraction of the price. And same goes for the interior. You can choose any type of leather that you want. Same goes for the color of the car. Everything has a different price. And you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with the factory ones? Well, nothing. They're actually great. I just much rather prefer the look of these. Did I know they weren't going to be compatible? No. I thought they were going to be plug and play. Would I have changed my mind if I did know? No, it wouldn't. I just prefer the look of these. And now you're probably thinking, why am I changing the complete harness for my car in order to run these headlights? And that's because the pin-in output on this headlight is actually different to my factory ones, so we can't actually utilize this harness for these headlights. The connector is the same, the pinning is different. However, the headlights do work even though I did plug it in, but the only thing that works is the low beam. Blinkers don't work, daytime running light doesn't work, and the high beams don't work. A lot of people have coated these headlights, and unfortunately it is such a headache and there is no step-by-step on how to do it. And since we're already upgrading the headlights, we're also going to be upgrading the speakers because they're trash. And there are a ton of aftermarket options out there, including a safe. This car being the base model, there are some things that it does lack, some options. And that's going to be, although the rest of the interior is amazing, I love it, that's going to be the sound system. So if you watch my last video, you actually see that I've mentioned that I will be upgrading the sound system, and that's to the factory optioned out B&O sound system. However, in order for me to do that, I've got to change not just the speakers, but the door cards, because it actually does come with a different trim here, which says B&O, and it does light up, which looks pretty cool when you open up the door. However, this part will be leather, as here it's more of on mine, it's more of an Alcantara feel to it. And then obviously we got this carbon door trim, which is from an RS3, which will obviously be getting swapped over to the new one. Everything else it's pretty much identical. Everything else will stay the same, apart from obviously the stuff like the amplifier that's under the seat that's gonna have to come out. But that's something I'm gonna have to do in a later video when I start stripping this whole dash out. And then, yeah, and then we obviously got the dash speakers as well that we'll be doing. But yeah, let's start with the doors. If you don't know what B&O sound system is, then you're sleeping under a rock, my friend. It's a factory option car audio system that consists of 13 speakers, including a subwoofer. And this is used throughout the whole Audi fleet, depending on which car you own. In my case, this was a $12,000 option. Before I start with stripping the doors, I will give you a sound check on actually what the sound system sounds like on this car. But first, I'm gonna have to plug in the battery. So let's do that first. If you got a workshop or a driveway in this case, get yourself one of these stalls on wheels, because I'm telling you right now, for the long run, it will save your knees and your back. It's definitely not on the cheap side. I think I actually paid like $100 for this thing. Could have been a little bit more or a little bit less, I'm not sure. But again, I choose health over wealth any time of the day. I didn't really expect that to happen. So the battery appears to be dead. I'm not sure how that happened. Either I buy a jump pack, try to start it, but then again, who's to say that that's not actually going to work? We've got one screw, we've got another one here, they're hidden behind this plastic that we got to take off, and we've also got one in there. So anyways, so this door panel, I need to see if I got these 2 bolts here. We're obviously missing one right there, so that's even easier. So we're going to go ahead and start removing this part. In case you're wondering what pick tool set I'm using, I bought it either off Amazon or Temu, but I'll link it down below. We've got one star key. After you remove that plastic, you got one star key and you got another one. We're going to be using, what is this, T25, okay? That's star Phillips head. Passenger side was quite simple. We just had to remove this little latch for the door hinge, the handle, and then pretty much just unplug this one cable, and that's pretty much it. Now we're going to start off by removing the standard speaker. As you can see, you'll be surprised, they actually look identical, this one and the B&O sound system. I'm not necessarily sure if the wiring harness, this one I'll need to replace, because I did actually get this full set wiring for all the doors from the other car. However, I'm not sure if I need to replace this, if this will all be the same, or would it all be compatible with the speaker and all the wiring. But that's something I'm just gonna have to find out at the end. If it does not end up working, I'll just end up replacing these wires as well, but for now I will probably leave them. Now when I come to think of it, I actually realized that I might actually have to replace the wiring on the door, because there is a second speaker and I'm obviously going to need wiring to go to that to be able to run that speaker, and that is this one right here, the main speaker right here. And then we've also got this one, which I think they would call a tweeter. So that's another speaker that's probably going to have to go in, but let's figure that out in a sec. You can see the difference here between my standard speaker, as you can see right there, and then you can see the difference between the B&O speaker. Obviously it looks more bigger magnet as well at the back. It also says B&O right there, as you can see, B&O. Same as this little tweeter, B&O at the back right there. So those are the two that will be going into the passenger side. These are the passenger wiring, so I want to go through this and see if I'm actually going to need it, but I'm pretty sure it's already on the door cards that I'm going to be swapping out with these ones. I ended up realizing that the pins on my harness and the other one are actually completely different. So what I am going to end up having to do, I'm going to have to replace my harness with the other one. See the pin layout here, you can see that there's no pins here down the middle. There's 4 up there, there's 3 down here. Take a look at this one, you can see 3, 4 and 1. So I'm not even going to bother, I'm just going to go ahead and use this whole harness. I will probably unwrap it completely, and I'm going to put some new, I don't even know what it's called, but yeah, you know what I mean. Oh, I had it right here actually. There we go. We're going to put the wrap on it, whatever it's called. Fabric wrap, that's the one. So we're going to re-wrap it because it's very sticky. I'm going to obviously wipe it down as well. But yeah, that's about it. I think this thing I won't have to use it, I'll just plug it into mine, and let's start with that. It really does make sense to replace this wiring, because considering that this car was a base model and the S3 I got it off was a fully spec'd out one, and considering we're swapping everything else out, it only makes sense to swap this out as well, because the last thing I want to do is turn on the car and things aren't working. So I figured out we're not just missing one cable, which is this one, as you can see. So if we come across, you can see we got the yellow one. This one we're obviously missing, which is to the other tweeter. Obviously don't got that on our harness. Coming up, we got this thing in bob. We've only got one cable running off it. Whereas this one, we got that, and we've got another extra additional cable running off it. And then if we move our way up to the box, we got these 2 main cables, which is these 2 right here. We got a blue one, we got a blue one, and we've got a 3rd cable right here, which I think is the one that powers the lights on the doors. So as you can see, we've got a lot more additional cables that run to this box that we're gonna have to reuse as well. But what I'm gonna do next is, I'm now gonna unwrap this whole wiring loom. I'm gonna leave mine here as a reference so I know where the cables go, but only because it's very sticky, and I'm just gonna apply new fabric wrap to it. This is definitely a lot more tedious than I thought. I thought I would have had all 4 doors done by now, but I'm literally getting started on the first wiring harness. Quick little update, as you can see, the harness has been fully rewrapped, and take a look at the difference. It's like day and night difference, right? Look at that, look at that. To think that that's what you get from factory is pretty terrible. I mean, it looks like it's been rushed or something. Like half of the tape is actually, as you can see, it's just coming off. But anyways, we've got this one completely done. As you can see, looks incredible. Anyway, all that's left is pretty much to just de-pin this, and that way we can put one of these back on. This is like where it joins to the body of the car. So we just got to de-pin this. I've got to try to figure out that. Hopefully it's not too difficult. I'm pretty sure there's just like a lock pin, and then all these pins should be able to slide out. So I purchased this little pick tool set, so hopefully this does do the job. And as you can see, I obviously purchased it because Edo right there. Would you look at that? Isn't that sick? Anyways, so hopefully this does do the job. I did actually purchase a proper de-pinning toolkit off off Temu, yes, off Temu. It was 60 bucks, so hopefully I don't get like a spoon and fork set instead of that. But for now, I'm hoping this will do the thing, because I'm pretty sure you just have to push like a little clip and it should release all these pins. Or worst case scenario, I might just have to push it in there, and then that would obviously free the pins. But one thing you want to take note is you want to take a picture of the, because when you're reinstalling them, you obviously don't want, you know, the volume for your speakers to be pulling down your windows or some shit, I don't know. So definitely take a picture, because it really will help you before obviously applying it to one of those. Look at that. Literally, that's all it was. Like that, it's back in. Wow. Holy shit, that was hella easy. Sick. Oh my god, I'm so happy that that happened.
After finishing the harness on the passenger side, I'm pumping through the one on this driver side, but I am dreading the day that I have to do the one that goes throughout the whole cabin. And I know for a fact that there is only a handful of people that will do something like this, but if you're one of them, let me know down below in the comments.
So we've got all the driver side wiring right here, and there are a few things that I won't be using, such as these right here. So these are the ones that actually go at the back of the door card. So as you can see, there's, I don't know what that is. These are the things that my actually door cards don't have. So we actually got these lights. You'll see my door card doesn't have the cutout for these. We also got the door handle lights right here. That's the same. And then obviously I don't know what this is. If you know what this is, tell me in the description below. But apart from that, and obviously this one, we obviously need these. This is when you open the door, you get that little nice light up animation. But the only thing we're going to be using is this, because we already got that on the door cards that we're going to be reinstalling on the car. Just to put it in perspective on how much Audi and Volkswagen complicate things. If you take a look here, this is a little tab, and this thing belongs there, right? And if you take a closer look, we can see we got a little tooth there and we got a tooth there. Pretty much what that does is it locks this into place. But if you take a look at the back, it's a nice straight piece, right? With one tooth. And pretty much what happens is that tooth at the back that you saw, this one right here, it goes through one and then it goes through the other. So just another way of them making your life a lot more difficult, and you do not know what the hell is going on. Now that we've got all the tape off, now we've got to clean off the residue, and this is very sticky. But first things first, we're going to break this off because we no longer need this and we've got a new one coming. Because I'm replacing this, you can probably tell why. Probably can't. There's actually a crack right there. You can see it's been cracked as it's being removed. Oh, my fingers are killing from all this wrapping. After about 2 hours of unwrapping and cleaning, this thing is finally done. But we're going to leave this to the side for now. We're going to move on to something else. And that's when we come to the back of the car. Although this boot lid might seem fine from distance, it's far from fine. This whole bottom body line is very janky, and that's because this boot lid was meant to get replaced when I had the accident. However, they've obviously left it and they've done some dodgy repair there. You can't tell obviously because I wrapped it. As I pulled the wrap off, obviously pulled the paint, exposing all the filler and, you know, all the real damage. So I've done my best job to hide it. However, obviously, because of how expensive these parts are, I wasn't able to get one. I could have went second hand, but then again, there was slight damage on them or this or that. So I ended up getting lucky and finding a brand new one for very cheap. And it is completely bare, so it has no glass. I will have to replace that onto that one. These taillights, I probably won't be putting them on. I don't know, I haven't decided if I'm gonna keep them or not, or should I just go with the OEM ones? You let me know in the comments. And then also, we got a few kinks on it, so that's why obviously I've wanted to replace it for such a long time, and I just don't like knowing that it's completely botched. So in order for us to get this boot lid off, as you can see, it's currently locked, obviously because there's no key in the car. We've got to pull that latch right down there. There's a little latch right there that we've got to yank on. Another thing, we got the other reboot lid here. As you can see, it is bare, completely bare, brand new. You can see the exposed seam sealer. no glass, no nothing. So yeah, first things first, let's go get the other boot lid on, get this one on, because it's getting pretty late. Come on. I had to just pull this. It's a bit of a stretch. Once you pull that, it should be open. We've got pretty much damage everywhere. This whole floor is busted out. As you can see, that's all just peeling off. But anyways, in order to get this boot lid off, we've got 2 screws right here. One screw. One screw right there. And then we obviously got to remove all this wiring. Pull that through here, or just let it hang, whatever. And then we also got about 3 screws that hold one tail light in, and we've got 3 screws that hold the other tail light in. We also got this pump. I'm not using, actually I do use the rear wipers, so we will put that in as well. And obviously the latch itself. So we've got all the wiring now underway. All that we have left is to remove the struts. Once we've removed them, then we just got to unbolt these 3 bolts and that boot lid should come right off. So let's get started with that. Now, although I didn't manage filming taking the boot lid off the car, that is something you did not want to see. I should have taken the struts off first, but I ended up leaving the struts on, unscrewing the bolts, and that boot lid was just falling on my head. But anyways, luckily with a bit of help, I was able to get the boot lid off, and as you can see, the boot lid is now off the car. Just got one more strut to remove. Once I remove that, then I can go ahead and start putting the next boot lid on.
If you're watching, I know what you're gonna say. I'm definitely with you on this one. This was extremely sketchy what I was doing. I don't know what the heck I was thinking trying to do this by myself. After watching Final Destination, I was ready for anything to happen at any given moment.
Tell you one thing, a bonnet is definitely 10 times better and easier to put on than a trunk lid.